laws and all, but it seems to me that in the vision of America, from the outset, that the dignity of the individual who may be laboring for some company that's making a lot of money, but not that individual, or whatever field you're in, you should be able to have the dignity of making a life for your family and you to eat enough and to be assured of home. And I haven't heard that kind of concern included in what you're, it's almost like you're arguing about.
Here, here. Good job.
One point. Respond, and we'll follow it up.
All right, so first on the $15 impact on big versus small, I think this is going to have, so a lot of you look at McDonald's and think, oh, this big evil corporation. The fact is most McDonald's are small businesses. McDonald's is a small business. It's a franchise. A lot of these are small business owners. Subway, small business owner. And all these big companies that you want to demonize, these are small, and you want to say, oh, you should shop local, small business. These are small businesses. So I think the big company, Walmart, things like that, they're probably going to be absorb this much more. But the fact is, the McDonald's, the corporation that you demonize, the big corporate, executives and the CEO, they're not bothered with the $15 minimum wage because they get paid a set amount from the franchisees. So it doesn't really bother them. But this is going to hurt the small business owners, the McDonald's, and the people employed. So they have less money to pay or less hours to dole out to their employees. So I think this is going to hurt small business much more than it hurts big business. Because again, big business can absorb a little more. As far as the dignity of the individual, I think Max and I, that is what the free market is about. That is what we are talking about. We believe in individual dignity. I brought up Adam Smith. He talked about the role between the individual and the government.
That's
We are individuals. We believe in property rights of the individual. We believe in the dignity of the individual.
Property requires money. Money where you've got to work. You're not getting
You do not
paid.
have a right to property. You have a right of property. You have a
I have a
right
right
to
to
work
work.
and obtain property using your labor to
But
pay
if I
for it with
can't,
money that you
because
get
of
from labor.
the low salary, I have a right to protest and organize to get it higher.
But
To at least pay
you
rent.
do not
The
have a
gap
right to
between
force
the
other
two.
people through government to force them to give you money. You
The
have a
gap
right to work,
between
build your
the
own
two
skills,
is
get a college
insane.
employment,
That's
a
what
college
I-
education, and build your employment and make more money.
That's what my statement was about, is that in the dignity of an individual.
Again, we believe in the dignity of the individual. Socialists believe everybody is the same. I'd say read Ayn Rand Anthem.
I'm talking about the kind of society.
It changes.
Everybody is the same. No.
No.
No, we're all worth the same. We all hold the same
You're picking
value.
and choosing from Adam Smith too. We said the corporation was bad. You're part of it.
I'd love to talk about this after.
Well, we have to have a separate forum.
I don't have too much to add to what Nelson just said. I would like to make a few additional comments. I mean, I think it's fairly straightforward to say that generally small businesses have a harder time affording large wage increases than corporations or larger corporations. But again, as Nelson pointed out, a number of corporations are franchised, especially in the food industry, and that can doesn't necessarily mean that every business that is tied to a corporation has the same resources or has a large pool of resources. I think a more important question comes down to your question here about the dignity of individuals. And there's a distinction between what's called positive and negative rights. And I think most folks who tend to be more free market would say, well, I think everybody would say, that everybody has a right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, free speech, freedom of religion, the things that you most generally hear about in the Constitution, First Amendment, and Bill of Rights. Every person has those rights endowed to them by nature of being an individual human being. There's nothing anybody can do to take you away with that. That is your intrinsic human dignity, human value owes you that. When you start talking about standards of living, everybody agrees that higher standards of living are desirable and are better. but you can't automatically fiat that everybody, that poverty completely disappears. It would be great if that could happen. We should strive to make that happen as much as possible. But as soon as we say that certain levels of material wealth are right, then we have to try to find some way to provide that. And governments and nations have gone bankrupt and fallen apart on that very notion. So the question to me becomes, in trying to get people this material standard of living, what is the best, most effective way to do that? Is it through free markets or a freer market system and competition?
Well, we can keep having soup kitchens then.
We can't depend on their charity because it's not
And we
coming.
shouldn't have to.
Well, I'm not saying that today's economic environment is great or that poverty doesn't exist. I'm just saying that poverty is going to exist to a certain extent under any system that we have. Government control, mixed economy, free market. The question is how
Only
do
when
we
there's
attempt-
But
differential
I
value
went through
placed on
college,
something.
I did my work. I don't deserve the poverty that I live with, and it's not because of anything that I have done or not done. And it's the system that is creating this. The poverty that you can't understand at your age and experience is real for many, many Americans that don't deserve it.
And I'm not saying that
Okay,
you're
can I ask
wrong.
you a question, sir?
I believe, if that's okay, you have got time.
Just if you raise the minimum wage, all of McDonald's would have to pay the same price. All of the, I mean, why is it that its wages is the first thing that an employer tries to minimize? Instead of a better product, better service,
There you go.
making the product cheaper, why is it always the wage? I think they want slave labor.
They do.
That's what they want.
Yep.
What they want.
If
Why is
the
it always
economy
wages?
increased
Have you
and lower the
Have you
wage,
met a McDonald's owner? Have you talked to him about this?
What does that have to do with the price of
Is he
life?
evil?
Said the wages.
I want to, I got a point I wanted to make.
Okay, wait.
Because the panel is speaking a lot more than the audience. I don't like that. I want to be quite clear on that.
Okay, so panel, last
I've got some questions too. I mean, the panel keeps on talking. I'm just saying, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You guys have been speaking. I have something to say too. I mean, other people have things to say, and
I could be here to midnight.
but last time we didn't do it this way.
Right,
I know.
right.
It's not
This-
working well. I'm just letting you guys know that.
Agreed.
Well, it's been good though.
Well, it's been passionate.
But, I mean, not everyone's had a
And these
chance
guys
to
are
say
great.
something. You guys have answered like 3 or 4 times. I feel like we're getting slugged by you guys. I really do. I mean, this isn't fair. I haven't had a chance to say anything. You spoke 5 times. I feel like I'm getting knocked out. This is not right.
This is a panel.
It's a panel discussion, you can ask
But,
questions.
I mean, it just feels like we're getting slugged by your opinions. I mean,
We're still groping with this too. you know.
I haven't had a chance to say anything yet.
Go
You're
ahead.
doing it now, let's hear you.
1968, the minimum wage, if you account for inflation, was about $11 an hour. So if you look at it today, it's about like $3 an hour. So actually, minimum wage has dropped down.
Well, who do we need to blame? Why don't we blame inflation? How about if we fix it?
So why don't we just
Federal
have,
Reserve?
why don't we have minimum
That's another
wage up
discussion.
to about $11 an hour? $9.19 is below what it was in 1968, even in Washington State. So why is my work, should it be less than what someone did in 1968?
Big question, Jerry.
Are you earning $15 an hour now?
Yes, I work for Seattle Public Schools and have a good union now.
I was paid $14 a day to
Okay.
run a crew of 40 men, and we built Juneau, Alaska, for one place, the Supreme Court building, 9 stories tall, for $14 a day.
You could buy a car for $500.
And there was no living expenses added, it was just straight $14 a day. And I'm the richest man in America. I've lived 102 years of American freedom,
All right.
and there isn't a place in the world that you can beat that fortune. I don't care what you think.
experience is what it means. Very good. It ain't all about money.
So when we started this debate, I was a little worried that it was going to be 2-on-1, but I can see now that it's 2 on a room. So I appreciate the support. I don't think these gentlemen do, but I appreciate it. All right, I wanted to go through a couple things, the couple questions that were raised, and also one point that was raised previously that I wanted to respond to, which is the natural resources of India. If you look at every colonial and neo-colonial country around the world, the more natural resources that country has, the poorer the people there are. And that's because the foreign big businesses are way more interested in that country, and when they're interested, it's not good for the people there. And it's just a trend all around the world, in the neo-colonial world. In terms of the question about small businesses all around the world are in a really difficult situation because they get squeezed by big business. And as long as they're squeezed by big business, they're going to be struggling, absolutely, as long as they're squeezed by big business. The good news about raising the minimum wage is that they get more customers because workers actually have a little money to spend. But that doesn't mean that capitalism is set up in such a way that the small business owner is going to be in a great position. And generally around the world, regardless of whether the minimum wage is raised or not, the small business owners get squeezed. But they do. There are the indications in the economic analysis that they get supported by increased minimum wage because of the increased buying power. I thought that the question about human dignity was a super important question because individual dignity is something that we get except when we're at work. And when we're at work, we have to do whatever the boss says. And in some workplaces, that's more or less humiliating. But I think that point about human dignity is really important. And the only thing that we can do to kind of defend our human dignity is start working together to organize. And hopefully this campaign is just one part of that. And the property rights for the individual is kind of and just to be clear, the word property refers to doesn't refer to your car, your house, your toothbrush. That refers to the sort of property that makes money, owning a business, that sort of thing. And that when people talk about property rights, that's really what they're talking about. And that sort of property rights is something that a very tiny portion of the population has access to, and they scream and shout when the overwhelming majority that doesn't have that tries to raise their wages. They say, what about our property rights? As if they represent all of society, which they don't. They just own all of society. And the point about franchises, it's absolutely true that McDonald's organizes itself by franchises, and lots of big business organizes itself by franchises. And that's just one of the ways that the corporate offices are able to rake in tons of money. That's another thing that they can do under capitalism. I don't know. That's all that I got. It's just how capitalism works.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We continue to evolve in this panel discussion process. I think everyone liked the first format.
Yes.
This format, we thought we would kind of take it back a little bit because the last format, the panelists kind of got bombarded with questions and really didn't get to answer all the questions. So, maybe this type of, I think that our customers, the people that frequent the Fire Wheel, and people in general, tend to live in their own bubble and don't get to really get confronted from time to time by people who may have an absolute diametrically opposed thought. So I guess when you come face to face with folks, and this is our country, it's like we're absolutely just split almost down the middle. If you look at it, every election, it's like the voting for the lesser of the two evils. So this is kind of why we like to have an alternative view, as well as, you know, preaching to the choir kind of view. So, you know, yes, it kind of riles you to hear an alternative perspective. But again, we're playing with this panel discussion format. So here's Mike LaPointe.
Thanks for that intro. All right, yeah, I thought this was interesting. And, you know, but it's what's going on in the country. And first of all, I want to thank everybody on the panel. And I appreciate especially for the two guys on the end here who took a lot of abuse. You know, it takes a lot of courage to come in front of a crowd that is hostile to it. And we got that way for a little bit. But
Mike, we're not hostile to these
I know,
people.
I'm not as people, yes, I know. It's just our point of view.
But
You
you
know,
set it up with two of them against one, and that's.
He held his own.
That's what we have a problem with.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Real brief.
We had a problem with 2 against 1, and that's why we spoke up.
Real brief. We tried a number of other organizations to come and speak
I realize
from
that.
the left point of view.
But from-
None of them.
From our point of view, it was, they were ganging up on this guy. I appreciate
I know, but
them,
I'm
they
saying
have a lot of courage, you gotta.
We as an organization tried to get other
But that's,
groups to
you gotta
come.
look at it from our point of view,
No,
is
we
that
tried.
he was being ganged up on by 2 guys.
I don't think I addressed him personally.
No.
No.
He
You know what I'm
didn't
talking
speak
about
We
now.
answered your
Go-
questions. We
Go
didn't.
back to your Adam Smith.
Okay.
Quit this.
All right.
Adam Smith and Law.
Here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. We have these panel discussions to increase our knowledge and to promote discussion, not to get into arguments. You know what? In Washington, D.C., that's all they do is argue. I'm sick of that, okay? We're gonna learn how to talk to one another, how to get our points across, and if we still disagree, but in a civil manner, and let the majority rule. You know, I got kind of thrown into this. I thought I would have a chance to make some comments tonight, but I didn't because I had to be the monitor. But let me say this. I'm going to step back from my official monitoring position here and say this. The minimum wage, getting back to our theme tonight, was 1938, correct? It was the first minimum wage in the United States. But before that, we had the Great Depression. And after as we were recovering from the Great Depression, there was a number of Supreme Court decisions which overturned minimum wages. And people started getting upset because they lived through the Depression, or they were still living through it. They didn't have anything. People were starving. In America, people were starving. And they had enough of our elected officials telling us, no, we can't get the very least that we need to survive. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what America is all about. And we weren't allowed to do that. We shouldn't let them go back to those days. There was a Republican who came out and said, we need a minimum wage
I
in
should have seen
1938.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's the two parties agreeing on something that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
My point is this, we gotta start treating people like people. We have to understand that this country was built by working people, not by the corporations, not by the rich. The rich were created by the working people.
Right.
That's not ideological, that's just the truth, all right? And we need to take care of one another. And we have to, when we make our decisions, we gotta say to ourselves, what is best for the people of America? Not for the corporations, not for the politicians. What is best for us?
That's right.
We gotta start treating each other a little bit better. We gotta start talking to each other a little bit more, and we gotta start getting our country back, because it isn't our country anymore. It hasn't been our country for a couple of hundred years, as far as I'm concerned.
You just
But
have
we
to
need
care
to
about
change the
people.
discussion. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Again, thank you everybody for showing up.
So somebody put their money where their mouth is, start a business, pay them $20 an hour, and then come back to me.
So that you make-
Or we'll elect
Start a
your
business before. You're not gonna start a business. I think you're gonna serve.
What do we have to say about the
I know, I